Hey, what's up you guys? This is Rob from The Gay Guy Plays, and we are plowing through a bunch of playtests. So it's about time to pull out the shocker with Volt's update. When we do it, raw. Now, as with all of the updates, I remind you to be as respectable as possible in the comments. Understand that this is day one and change is never easy. So let the changes marinate and give it time before you pass any final judgments. So let's begin with Shock. On its own, it acts just like it always acted, however, it's found a few new synergies that I'll chat about later. Speed is also pretty much the same, however, they've greatly cut down on the FOV increase, which I am super happy about. I hated the weird zoom out and zoom back in whenever you turned it on or it wore off. In addition, it also leaves these little spring dealies that your teammates can pick up if they like the speed buff as well, which means that everything is fully consensual, which is the way it should always be. Now, as for Volt's shield, it got a visual rework which I am super fond of, but in addition to adding additive electric damage to all shots fired through it, as well as all of the unique modifiers to different primaries and secondaries, when charged up with Shock, it deals Shock's damage to any enemies that pass through it. Also keep in mind that this combines amazingly with Volt's passive, potentially adding a bonus 1000 points of damage to the shield. As you can see, enemies that pass through it when struck by a fully charged Shock are inflicted 1288 points of damage instead of the regular 290. In addition, you can now pick up the shield, which considerably shrinks down its size and imparts a marginal slow to run speed. However, do keep in mind that it will cost you energy per second as well as energy per meter traveled in order to keep the effect maintained. Now, while you will be unable to use your primary, you can fire off your secondary and also melee while this feature is active. In addition, it will still keep the ability to damage enemies upon contact if charged with Shock. Just keep one thing in mind. If you plan on meleeing with this, either have something with a long range or equip Pine Breach. There is still a little space between you and the shield, and getting too close to an enemy will technically put them on the other side of it, allowing them to shoot you. Last, but certainly not least, is his new ultimate, Discharge. Now, I've been doing some playtesting, however there are a few things I find weird about the numbers on this one. From what I can make of it, he sends out a pulse that turns all surrounding enemies into stationary Tesla coils. Each Tesla will deal damage to any surrounding enemies, including those that have been turned into Teslas. At max rank, each Tesla can sustain up to 4000 points of damage. Once they've taken enough damage or the duration runs out, the Tesla effect will wear off on them, allowing them to move freely. Now, if there are no enemies surrounding them, after 4 seconds they will begin to shock themselves, until either they take enough damage to break themselves out of the Tesla or the effect wears off. Now, using Shock on Tesla'd enemies will cause them to deal additional electricity damage to all enemies within range, in addition to the damage from Shock. The bonus damage itself isn't massive by any means, but does seem to be slightly higher than an individual take-up damage from Tesla and Shock. So like I say, a bonus is a bonus and I'll take it. Now, all in all, Volt's rework has been pretty good. I'm definitely liking this ultimate versus his old ultimate, and the rest of his abilities really haven't been altered too much. If anything, they've definitely made changes for the better. Personally, I still don't think this gives him the scaling that he needs for endurance run play, but it's a step in the right direction. Now, I've got one last playtest video coming out, so stay tuned for the threesome, but until then, stay educated as fuck.